Capital News tonight. The government allocates 194 square kilometers of Umba River Forest Reserve to residents of 4 villages in Tanga region. The business community calls on Tanzania Revenue Authority, TRA, to stop using procedures that contribute to shutdown of businesses. And in sports news, Tanzania's representatives in the All-African Games undergo an anti-doping seminar prior to the competition. Good evening. This is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Vanessa Victor. Let's get started with the national news. The government has allocated 194 square kilometers of Umba River Forest Reserve to residents of 4 villages in Mwakijembe ward in Lushoto and Mkinga districts, Tanga region, along the border between Kenya and Tanzania, so as to ensure security and stop mining and livestock keeping activities in Mkomazi National Park. The decision was announced by the Special Sectoral Committee formed by 8 ministries under the President's directive.
Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan kwa busara yake na mapenzi yake ameridhia kumega eneo la pori tengefu la mto Umba, eneo la kilomita za mraba 194, na ameyagawa maeneo hayo kwenye vijiji hivi 4: kijiji cha Mkota, kijiji cha Mwakijembe, kijiji cha Mbuta na kijiji cha Perani.
Mheshimiwa Waziri, kilio kikubwa sana cha wananchi wa kitongoji cha Kimuni, kata ya Mwakijembe kwa ujumla wake, tuna ufinyu wa ardhi.
Tumekuwa tukiambiana tuwe na subira, tuwe watulivu, na kwamba serikali yenu itatoa maamuzi ambayo yatakuwa vile vile kwa manufaa kwenu na kwa taifa letu kwa ujumla.
And some citizens in Manyoni district, Singida region, are using honey and salt as seasoning for tea and porridge instead of sugar, following the shortage of the commodity and the high prices, whereby a kilo of sugar is sold between 4,000 to 6,000 shillings instead of the government-directed prices of 2,800 to 3,600 shillings.
Imekuwa ni changamoto, na tulikuwa tunaomba ombi kwa serikali iweze kutusaidia, kwa sababu kwa matumizi sasa hivi wengine tunatumia mpaka asali.
Kwa sasa mbinu mbadala tunatumia mpaka chumvi. Unaweka chumvi kwenye uji, watoto wanapata kula kwa sababu ya uhaba wa sukari hamna. Kilo shilingi 5,000 sasa hivi.
Hapa kijana kuna mteja amemuuzia 90 mifuko miwili.
Kuna mmoja amemuuzia 90, mwingine anauza 89, na sio kwamba hujui.
Mheshimiwa, naomba unisamehe.
Tumenielewa, na sio kwamba hujui.
Naomba unisamehe.
Sawa, OCD, funga duka, chukua huyu tumpeleke ndani. Nataka mumfungulie kesi. I want this. Huyu ndio mtu tumtolee mfano wa kwanza.
The Traffic Police Force in Morogoro region has started a special operation to arrest drivers, including Bajaj and motorcycle drivers, as well as those driving without licenses, whereby they will be required to go to driving school before their vehicle is returned.
Kisi tukikamata sasa hivi, una leseni, cha kwanza lazima uje shule. Ieleweke kwamba lazima uje shule, na ukifika shule ukapata cheti au ukapata tukakonfirmiwa na mwalimu kwamba darasa lipo, utakuwa na hiari ile pikipiki kuiachia.
Kama sisi tumehitimu kweli udereva, ninaomba tukienda kule tuwe makini na mahiri. Ni maneno mawili haya, si ndio? Makini na mahiri. Kwa sababu ukiwa unaendesha unabeba mali. Si kama mnalifahamu hilo. Watu ni mali.
Watu wenye mahitaji maalum kama watu wenye ulemavu wana haki kabisa ya kupata leseni, kujifunza udereva kuhusiana na chombo chochote kile ambacho anacho uwezo wa kukiendesha.
And the government has called on stakeholders, development partners and researchers to collaborate with a special research and analysis team from the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, studying why primary school dropouts is still an ongoing challenge, despite measures being taken by the government to improve the state of education in the country. This was revealed by the Minister of Education, Professor Adolf Mkenda, in the opening session of Utafiti Conference 2024 held at the Dar es Salaam University College of Education, Duse.
Is the size of school dropouts. And I'll challenge you, go and look at Standard 7 results. Count the kids who sat for the exam. Walk back 7 years and see how many of them were enrolled in school. I'm not going to give out figures because this is going to be the headlines tomorrow. It is alarming. It's something that should cause sleepless nights to the managers of education sector. So when we are trying to ensure every kid goes to school, we must understand where do we lose those kids.
We have your presence here, and thank you for making time to be with us. As you may be aware, the core functions of our university are teaching, research and innovation, knowledge exchange. However, there have been concerns that the research produced in universities is not widely disseminated to policymakers and the wider public.
Our main activities include research, teaching, consultants, and public services. Operating as the constituent college of the University of Dar es Salaam, we seamlessly carry out the activities alongside the primary focus on teaching. Not only is the college dedicated to the preparation of teachers, but we further strive to be a leader in research, including educational research. And it is in this ambition and commitment to deliver quality research to support the advancement of our nation that underpins our role as partners and host for the Utafiti Elimu Tanzania 2024.
Serengeti Breweries Limited SBL has launched a campaign called Smashed, aimed at providing education on the effects of alcohol consumption to students and people under the age of 18.
Kampeni hii italeta wepesi kwa serikali kusimamia nidhamu na maadili mashuleni. Ni moja kati ya dhima ya dira zetu kusimamia ustawi wa vijana wetu, hasa kwa mkoa wa Kilimanjaro ambapo zipo taarifa nyingi sana za matumizi holela ya pombe kwa watoto na vijana walio na umri mdogo. Na vijana hawa wengine wanakatisha masomo ili kuuza na kunywa pombe. Na maonyesho tulioonyeshewa hapa yameonyesha hayo yote.
It's an extremely important program to us as a company because it's one way that we bring to life one of the critical pillars of our sustainability goals. We have something we call sustainability goals, which is kind of like our strategy to help the world become a more sustainable place for all of us. And one of the things we do through that is championing positive drinking in the society. And the SMASH program is a program that we have used to reach out to young children because of the critical challenge around underage drinking in our society.
The East Africa community has acknowledged that there are new non-tax impediments that hinder citizens from member countries from conducting business amongst each other, which delays accomplishment of the goals set by the EAC.
To facilitate this, EAC adopted consultative dialogue framework in 2012 aimed at fostering continuous dialogue among civil society and private sector and all interest groups regarding EAC integration. This framework also establishes annual forum for consultation between the dialogue parties and the EAC Secretary General. The Secretary General's forum is organized collaboratively based on agenda agreed upon the private sector, civil society, and other interest groups. Local government falls there as well. Article 127 and Article 128 underscore the partners states' pledge to create enabling environment for creative participation of EAC citizens in the integration process.
Na sisi wenyewe hapa, kwa hiyo hapa tutashare uzoefu mbalimbali kutokana na changamoto katika hizi nchi zilizopo, changamoto zinazofanana na jinsi gani nchi hizo zinashiriki katika kuhakikisha kwamba wanatatua hizo changamoto. Lakini pia hapa kuna masuala ya kukuza demokrasia na kugatua madaraka kuyapeleka chini zaidi. Hayo yote tutashare hapa na kutakuwa na mawasilisho mbalimbali ambayo tutawasilishwa na wataalamu. Kwa hiyo tunaamini baada ya siku mbili tutakuwa tumejifunza zaidi.
Local economic development will remain a key focal area for us going forward. And while this meeting is about policy, priorities, and positioning, it is also about practice. So I'm really looking forward to hear from the councils, counties, and districts that have been working on local economic development in their territory, and to better understand the specific issues that are being faced in a cross-border environment. This meeting will also feed into a small pilot project that CLGF and IALGA will be coordinating here in Tanzania.
The Prime Minister, while addressing a public meeting during his tour in Mara region, issued a one-week deadline to the Prevention and Combating of Corruption Bureau, PCCB, and the Director of Rorya District to complete investigation on a teacher from Kinesi B accused of stealing various equipment and money intended for construction of the school he was given to oversee.
Wamepewa fedha zipelekwe halmashauri na halmashauri msimamie ujenzi wa shule hizo zikamilike, milioni 540. Maeneo mengine yote yaliyopita miradi shule zimekamilika, hapa haijakamilika kwa sababu tu kuna vifaa vimeibiwa tena na mwalimu. Mtumishi, mkurugenzi, sogea hapo niambie umechukua hatua gani kwa mwalimu huyu?
Mheshimiwa Waziri Mkuu, baada ya mradi wa hii shule ya msingi Kinesi B, tulifanya uchunguzi kwa mkaguzi wa ndani kuikagua ule mradi wote, na baada ya kupata taarifa ya mkaguzi wa ndani tukaona mapungufu na hizo kasoro ambazo zimejitokeza, tukawasilisha kwa ofisi ya TAKUKURU kwa ajili ya uchunguzi zaidi na hatua za kisheria.
Uchunguzi ulianza baada ya kupewa ripoti ya mkaguzi, na tayari uchunguzi umeshaanza rasmi, na sisi kama TAKUKURU tulipata kama taarifa kama mwezi wa kwanza.
Europe is dealing with a sharp rise in drug trafficking and drug-related violence. Authorities said they have seized very large quantities of drugs at some of Europe's most important ports in recent years and are calling for more international cooperation to tackle the problem. Our Deutsche Welle correspondent in Berlin, Thomas Sparrow, joins us with more. Thomas, first, give us some more details about this. Just how big is the problem?
It is indeed a big problem. It's also a growing problem in several European countries, and in particular in some of Europe's biggest ports. We're talking here about Rotterdam, Antwerp, Valencia, other ports, also here in Germany, the port of Hamburg. Growing amounts of drug, in particular growing amounts of cocaine, have been seized in those ports, and it has become a problem that simply goes beyond those seizures. It also basically has turned into a security situation, into a security challenge in different European countries, as drugs also end up having an impact in the societies where they arrive. And this is a problem that goes also beyond just these major ports. There are smaller ports in countries like Sweden that have been particularly affected by those arrivals of shipments and also by the violence that is related to all of this. And what this has meant is basically that European officials, both at an EU level and at a national level, have realized that they have to increase their efforts to deal with this problem, which is obviously a growing one, a very difficult one, and in fact one that has been described as even similar to the risks posed by terrorism when it comes to the security impact that it is causing in different European countries.
So what are authorities proposing in Europe to deal with the drug trafficking and drug-related violence?
The country that in this semester is leading the Council of the European Union and has proposed a so-called Ports Alliance, in other words, working together with those ports where the shipments arrive and the drug arrives, let's say, from countries in South America, obviously hidden within other products that arrive to those ports. So it is necessary from a European perspective to work together with port authorities. But beyond that, it has also become a priority to work with both the countries of origin, where the drugs come, in particular cocaine, so in this case, for example, South American countries, but also with some of the countries and regions of transit. And in this case, it's particularly relevant to stress also, for example, the case of African countries as well. So what's becoming clear is the need to work in a more broader international aspect of all this. There's a need, according to European officials, to basically have a global effort to deal with this problem that is obviously now in particular affecting European ports, European cities and European countries as well.
Germany's interior minister is traveling to some of the countries of origin. What is her goal with these visits?
Minister is in several South American countries where cocaine is produced to basically understand the picture of how the drug is produced, how it is also shipped, but also more importantly, to also sign agreements with authorities in those respective countries, because again, there is an understanding that if Europe is going to deal with the problem here in the continent, here, let's say, in those major ports, it has to happen in collaboration with authorities in the countries of origin where the drug obviously originates. So Germany's interior minister is traveling to several Latin American countries, and by the way, she's not the first official to do so. She has been, there have been previous other officials from different countries also traveling to countries like Peru, like Colombia, like Ecuador, like Brazil, to specifically talk to authorities there and try to find common approaches to deal with drug smuggling and drug-related crime.
Thomas, you've mentioned Africa as a major transit region for drug shipments from South America. Please bring us up to speed.
The focus is actually now on that trip to South America, so basically working not only with the ports here in Europe, but also with the countries of origin. But it's actually important to stress that it's not only about the countries where the drug arrives or the countries where the drugs actually depart from. Also, the transit countries play an increasingly important role when it comes to understanding the drug trade and specifically how to combat that drug trade. And in this particular case, Africa plays a significant role. There have been reports, investigative reports, stressing that countries in southern and eastern Africa are having a growing role when it comes to this aspect of transit. And that is something that obviously, according to officials in different countries, is particularly important to stress. So this is not only, even though the focus now is, let's say, on South America, or the focus is on the ports here in Europe, it's not only about that. There are other regions in the world that also play a significant role. Hence, the appeal by European officials to understand this as a problem that affects many different regions and that has to be fought against, that has to be combated specifically as an international approach and not one only based on specific countries. So Africa certainly also plays a role here, and it's one that obviously would be very good to work in collaboration with European officials and officials from other regions of the world to try and combat not only the drug trade per se, but also drug-related crime, which is something that is affecting not only Europe, but other regions in the world as well.
Thank you very much for that update, Thomas. And that special report marks the end of the National News. Business News is next. Now in business news. Various entrepreneurs who attended the Investment and Tax Forum in Dar es Salaam have said that Tanzania Revenue Authority TRA has contributed to businesses closing down due to procedures used to claim tax payments that include closing down bank accounts as a means of pressurizing entrepreneurs to pay their taxes.
Kuishi risiti za EFD. Lakini pili tulikuwa tunaongea pia masuala ya kodi za nyuma. Mheshimiwa Rais alizungumza kodi miaka 3, ikazungumzwa kodi miaka 5. Wanaenda kodi miaka 7.
Ambapo ndo milango sasa ya bandari zetu kubwa kama ya Dar es Salaam, Tanga na kusini mwa nchi yetu. Tukifungua mipaka hii tukafanya biashara ambayo itaweza kuchochea uchumi wa taifa.
Ni maeneo gani hasa ambayo wangedhani tuyazingatie katika kwenda mbele, hasa katika sheria ijayo ya kodi? Na jambo la tatu, ukweli kwamba sisi sekta ya umma na sekta binafsi tumeweza kukiri na kupongeza sana juhudi ambazo Mheshimiwa Rais Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan na serikali yake ambayo amezichukua katika kuboresha mazingira ya biashara.
NMB Bank has ended its Master Bat Haipoi campaign with a final draw that has enabled 12 winners and their spouses to travel to South Africa for business opportunities as well as to visit tourism attractions.
Kwa tunaendelea kuencourage wateja wengi waendelee kutumia kadi za NMB Mastercard kwa ajili ya kufanya malipo yao, na hii kampeni tunahitimisha leo, lakini bado tuna kampeni zetu zile za kila mwisho wa mwezi, tunaita Friday, kwenye sehemu za starehe, lakini pia kwenye vituo vya mafuta.
Na wazawadia wateja wetu zawadi mbalimbali kemkem, lakini kwa sababu tunawapenda wateja wetu sana, benki NMB, benki yenu inawapeleka mkale bata, ndio maana tunaita NMB Master Bat.
Representatives of capital and securities markets from member countries of the Southern African Development Community have met in Dar es Salaam to discuss how to improve capital markets as well as to sensitize investors to invest in capital markets.
Tanzania ni wenyeji wa nchi 16 ambazo zinatoka katika ukanda wa bara la Afrika, ambapo tunajumuika pamoja kuweza kupeana uzoefu ni jinsi gani tunaweza kutengeneza bidhaa katika masoko ya mitaji.
Kwa hiyo hizi fedha zinakusanywa kutoka kwao, zinatumika kuboresha miundombinu ya maji. Kwa hiyo unatatua changamoto ya maji, unapata mapato na shughuli za maendeleo zinaendelea.
And that is the end of business news. Sports news is up next.